Welcome to Getting Rich Together. I'm your host, Shama Bunton. This show was born from my own journey. Coming out of a divorce, I reached out to 50 women to talk to them about money. 95% of them did not want to go there. That's when I realized we need spaces where wealth isn't hidden in silence, but shared in possibilities. Here, you'll meet women from all backgrounds, trailblazers, risk takers, visionaries, each expanding what wealth can look like. This is your place to be inspired, to discover new pathways, and to remember that we rise by building wealth together. Getting Rich Together is a Wealth Catalyst production. At Wealth Catalyst, we bring together education, networks, and great opportunities for women to build wealth and change the world. Now, on to today's show. I am here with the beautiful, brave, and brilliant Kelly Resendez. Kelly, you are known with women nationwide as being a fierce advocate of women claiming their happiness, their abundance, their power, having a voice and purpose in this world. You are also the president of a groundbreaking company, Minerva, which I am so excited for everyone to hear about. But most importantly, and the thing that resonates with my heart, is the passion that you have for women and for voices and for us to be in true alignment with ourselves. As the founder of GoBundance Women, I feel like you have been so pivotal in helping to unlock each individual's power. And I'm so grateful to have you here today on Getting Rich Together.
Oh my goodness. I am so blessed, and what a welcome. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's such an honor. And while there's so many things we could jump into as far as everything happening in this moment and all the exciting things happening now, this show takes place and starts quite a bit earlier in the Kelly lifeline. So my love, take us back to a young girl, someone 10, 12 years old. Where in this beautiful world were you? What was life like around you? And what was money like?
Yeah, what a great thought-provoking question to start with. So for myself, I grew up in a small town in Northern California, and I truly hit the jackpot in terms of parents that could lay the foundation for what I would say is abundant living. So my mom was a real estate investor and also helped run my dad's company. So he was an entrepreneur, and I really was indoctrinated into that small business investor journey from a young age, just helping my mom with invoicing and answering phones and working in the office. I thought I was working in the office, and it was really daycare, right? And so I was definitely born very confident. I think everybody comes into this world with their own personality, but I was also very significance driven. And so from a young age, I was constantly trying to prove, explain, or justify my worth. And I did that through attention seeking and other things. And honestly, it served me very well into my first career, which was in banking and in mortgage. And when I look back at who my 10-year-old self was, or my 12-year-old self, I was already starting to try to put myself on a billboard. And when you're in a small town, it's pretty easy to do. It was the path of student government or being in the popular group, that kind of thing, doing well in school, making sure that I got a lot of attention. And so I know that just from like a money standpoint, my parents did give me the gift of knowing I could create whatever I desired. And I wish that was the same gift that so many people face. And so when I look at where a lot of people have abundance blocks around money, it does come from a young age. But mine didn't actually come until my mom got diagnosed with dementia in 2002. So I had created a lot of worldly success. I was earning close to $1 million by the time I was 25. I was already accumulating real estate and investments and other things. But honestly, I didn't realize how miserable I was inside because I was a workaholic. I was a significance-aholic. I refer to that season of my life as being like my billboard era. Look at me. I've created so much in spite of coming from a small town. But my relationship with money was not the same as it is today. I looked at money as something that really just formed my worth rather than the energy that I see it to be today. And it took a lot of highs and lows in it. I spent a lot when I was earning at a high level and probably wasn't as thoughtful about things. And then when my mom got sick, I started to say things like, I don't care about money, because my purpose in helping make the world a better place and helping other people just became more important at that point. So I did go through that era for probably about 10 years. Not that I wasn't still earning at a high level, but I didn't have the focus on money that I do today. It's truly a tool in what I use to make the world a better place and giving back and that kind of thing. So that journey for me in self-actualization, consciousness, mindfulness, I would say just becoming my best self really started around 2004. It took a couple years of my mom being sick and then losing my grandma. My sister was having challenges, and then I had my daughter. And I read the book Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle towards the end of 03, beginning of 04. And it really sunk in that I had never had a present thought up until that moment, or a present moment up until then. I was always operating in what's next, or if I experienced anything, I had to tell someone about it. It wasn't, I got a big commission and I was like, wow, I'm proud of myself. It was like, woo, look how much money I can tell other people that I've made. So over the last 21 years, I've just been on this journey of really just becoming my best self on a regular basis, and then sharing the wisdom and tools with other people as well.
Oh, beautiful. I love that entire narrative arc. It's so interesting to grow up with two parents who are living on the edge. I know real estate is definitely a feast or famine, and the highs, the lows. Certainly being an entrepreneur, similar, right? It's like things can go really well. There's like stuff you don't know happening behind the scene. I feel like some entrepreneurs are so good at being the duck, where it looks cool, but underneath it's like super crazy. How did you experience your parents navigating these two really could be potentially volatile experiences of work? What kind of stability, or what did that sort of model for you when you were maybe like in high school? What did it represent?
Yeah. So number one, first and foremost, massive work ethic. My parents were very hard workers, but they also played very hard. So that was amazing modeling for me. That was number one, was just my mom had me start working at a young age. She didn't make me use the money that I made, though, to invest in the things that I wanted to do. It was almost like sprinkles on top of the ice cream. I still got a lot of the luxuries that having successful parents created. So that was the first thing. The second thing was that my mom believed everything would work out. And that, again, it's a lesson that I use today. She never worried about the deal. There was never stress around money in my home. And that's one thing that I've emulated for my own children, is that I believe that money, again, is just a tool. And so I don't drop into scarcity around it, no matter what my situation is. And my mom really modeled that. I would say on the opposite side, my dad complained a lot. And so I got to witness him complaining a lot about the jobs and the things. And it was like, although you're successful, you don't seem like you're fully happy about what it is that you're doing. He was good at it. He was a great HVAC contractor. He was really good at it, but he was always complaining. And so one thing that I took away from that was that I never wanted to be in a situation where I didn't love what I do. And those were probably just the big lessons, some really strong ones, and then some ones that I took away that were like, you know what, I want to experience business differently than what they did.
That's so cool. And so as you decided then to launch yourself into university and emerge with a degree in economics, obviously like that's a little more straight-laced than I'm going to go out there and like dabble in all the things. How did you decide what you were going to study, and how much of your future self had you anticipated at that time?
Yeah. So a couple things. Number one, when I went to college, I just did it because that's what everyone else did. my parents didn't go to college, and so I saw them be successful. And so I knew that I really wanted to study business. I started working at the bank when I was 18, so it was a great fit. And quite honestly, which some of your listeners might be surprised, I didn't actually finish my degree in economics because I caught the tail of a mortgage refinance boom that was taking place. And all of a sudden, I was able to create massive success in spite of not having it. And so it's been one of those things that, and I know there are a lot of people out there listening that are like, what is the value in the degree? I still got all the value. I got a lot of education about how certain things worked. But more importantly, I know that my education has come through networking and mentorship. Those are the things that really have guided me the most on this journey of being able to scale multiple companies simultaneously. And so I do believe a lot of the value in education is if you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer, you might need to take that path. But if you also want to be an entrepreneur, you can receive just as much wisdom from networking and mentorship as you can in a classroom.
I could not agree with you more. And so then as you then found yourself in the early days of being in the mortgage business and working at a bank, what was it that sort of attracted you into that space early around money? And how did you look at your career development? Obviously, you became quite successful through it, but was that because of, hey, I'm going to go negotiate all my salary? Or was it like, I've nailed, like, my personality is like zone of genius. I've nailed this market. How strategic, if you were in the development of this early success that you had?
I would tell you the few things that I know. Communication and emotional intelligence were things that I studied on my own. So whether it was going to events or reading books, I was constantly in that self-improvement. How can I be my best self to be able to do that? The other things that I would say that I have talent in is being a visionary on how things run. So I watched other people in the industry make a lot of mistakes, and their consistency and their discipline was really low. They flowed with where the market went rather than just being committed to discipline. So I really systemized things from probably like 1999 on. And then I also started to realize a lot of the value that I could bring to the real estate industry was sharing some of the personal growth and systems that I had developed myself. So I started speaking young, and I started influencing other people and holding them accountable to the disciplines and the consistency that helped me. And so by a few years in, I was in the top 1% of loan officers in the nation and had a team and really just was focused on doing the things that I loved. So an exercise that I did was really coming up with my job description, all the things that I had to do to keep the team running. And then as I hired new people, I took the things off the bottom that I didn't love doing, and I was able to hand them off to other people as well. But I also, in addition to doing that, I would tell you that my personality didn't like ceilings. So 100% commission or being an entrepreneur where you are the one that really is making the decision about what your value is monetarily was part of my personality. Now, I've worked with thousands of people over the years, right? That is not everyone's personality. So when you really start to assess, like, how much uncertainty am I okay with versus how much certainty do I need? That's a big question you want to ask yourself. Now, for myself, my uncertainty is I can handle a lot of uncertainty. So no matter what it was I was making or what we were doing, I could handle that. And so you just really have to ask yourself, like, what is it that I really desire? Because we're all uniquely wired differently. We were raised differently. Now, I would tell you that you can shift a lot of the old programming that you want to leave behind. So just because you're wired for more certainty doesn't mean that you can't develop your resiliency to uncertainty, right? But you also want to just know, like, they're just natural talents and skills that we have. And when they intersect with your purpose, which my purpose in lending is the same purpose that it is in everything that I do, I want to help change people's lives. Like, I didn't just do loans. I changed their life because I would ask them questions that other people didn't ask them.
Oh my gosh, Kelly. It's I already loved you, but now I'm like, man, I just keep falling more in love. So talk to me about the first material changes in your wealth and how you started, like what you did with it. I feel like there's this point where we're building and then there's a moment where you go, wow, like I can now do X, right? Or I can now fill in the blank and something changes inside of you. So when did that first, I'm sure there are many moments where things have shifted, but that first moment, how old were you? What was around you? And what were the things that locked in that you were like, oh shit, like this is it. This is happening.
Yeah. I would say it started early because my mom was already talking to me about buying real estate when I was in college. And so I bought my first home when I was 19. And I really, and my daughter has bought her first home at 19 and manages it while she's in college. And that was the first thing that I probably started doing was investing in real estate. And then knowing also that I needed a little bit more discipline about the money that I was making. So I had money come out before I received it that would go into other investments. And so I think that we all have to be honest with ourselves. If I give you $20,000, are you going to take the $20,000 and set aside the right amount for taxes if you're self-employed, for your retirement, for other things? Some of us just are going to take the $20,000 and act as if that's how much we have to play with. So being really honest with yourself about that. And then I started to invest in real estate syndications pretty young. I knew I didn't want to actively manage real estate myself. So I started to invest in multifamily and whatnot. And I probably got the best advice that I'd ever received, which was really take a look at your wealth and know that if your income is really in financial services and real estate and it's dependent on that, try to make your investments outside of it. So I sold all of my financial services stock, praise Jesus. Let me just put that out there, and invested in things that weren't tied to real estate and financial services. And that,
like what? What were some of the things?
Alternative, just regular stocks and bonds that were more your regular S&P type deals that allowed me when the market collapsed in 07, 08, that I didn't lose everything because I would have taken a hit in income and in my assets, but that didn't happen. And so over that period of time, I definitely have diversified considerably. But the biggest aha that I would say that I had in money was that I recognized after my mom got diagnosed many years later that I had a fear of numbers. The fear of numbers is one of the biggest abundance blocks that people have. They don't really want to look at how much debt do I have, how much in assets, what is my passive income going to be when I get older. And when I put more focus on that, it changed everything. My investment strategy today is it's real estate, it's stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and then I invest in a lot of different asset classes from multifamily to mini storages to I do a lot of startup investing as well, because I love being able to go into a company and not only invest, but be an advisor too. Biggest aha was the fear of numbers. I remember being in my late 90s, making a decision that I wanted to make so much money that I didn't ever have to worry about it. And that worked for a long time. But I wish I had a lot of the wasted money back today that could be working for me.
Wow. That's such wonderful pieces of wisdom, Kelly. What beautiful pieces of wisdom. When did you transition and move out of being a loan officer and moving out of that? When did you start to establish, and what were some of the dominoes that fell as you were saying, okay, I'm meant for something? And I imagine at a young age, it sounds like you always knew you were meant for something big and something powerful. And so it's clear, right? It's like at every opportunity you have, you turn it into something bigger than it was ever designed to be. And so I think that's a really beautiful common thread. But what were some of the transition points out of that industry and into the next steps?
Yeah. So honestly, it started off as a subtle knock. So I was successful had definitely created a lot of worldly success and was also feeling more successful. That was the biggest alignment that I needed to make after I had my awakening, was that I needed it to be an inside out job. Everything before was just grinding and working hard and all of these things, where I did stay in mortgage for about 7 years after I went through this transition and was able to continue success, sacrificing my own well-being physically and emotionally like I had been before. So I did it without stress. But it started off as a subtle knock. I need to make a bigger impact in the world. And then it was like, you convince yourself, no, but you're so successful already. Just be grateful for what you have. And it just kept knocking and knocking. And so I started conversations with executive leadership at the company that I was working with, that I wanted to make a bigger impact. And I created my own job description again as to what I thought the vision of my perfect role would be at a higher level. And they drug their feet. And then I got a phone call from Hayes Barnard, and he and I had known each other and we met. He owned a local company that had just gotten a portion of it sold to a very major company that I was familiar with. And so at that point, I want to change the world. And I'm like, so do I. We were both into personal growth and development. And I showed him the job description that I had created for myself. And I didn't have this role, but let's go. And so I joined that company as an executive. That was 14 and a half years ago. Since then, we've completely shifted the entire organization. We're a financial technology company now called GoodLeap, where we provide financing in the home improvement space, including solar and other residential improvements as well. And we've grown it from, I think we had 80 to 100 employees when I started, and have probably close to 1,500 today. And it's a multi-billion-dollar company that I am still proud to be a part of. Just now as a strategic advisor, I took a step back in April when I really, again, got that knock again of their broken systems that there's an opportunity to make a big impact on. And since 2011, the alignment with GoodLeap and my purpose were really about sustainability, but we were also about making sure that our employees had every opportunity. So all the things that I'd been teaching about self-actualization and actualizing your potential and other things, I got to do at GoodLeap with our employees too. I'm just completely blessed because I not only got to do that, I also got to learn how to scale. And that's what I've been able to bring into Minerva and other companies that I'm a part of. I probably have about 5 active companies right now. And I use the same strategies that I got to learn from our founders and from our mentors that we've had at GoodLeap.
Pause for a second. If you're not already on the Wealth Catalyst Substack, you are missing out. Over 20,000 people have subscribed, and they are diving into stories, strategies, and money expanders you won't find anywhere else. Join us today and keep fueling your wealth journey. Check out the link in the show notes. Now back to the show.
It's so amazing, Kelly. You mentioned your sort of diversification into these different asset classes. And a big part of that, I believe, is obviously who you know and feeling confident about taking those steps, and certainly moving out of one industry, going into a totally different industry also requires a sense of confidence and being able to move really seamlessly into things. What can you tell me a little bit about some of these first investments that you might have made that weren't necessarily in real estate, an area that you were familiar with, but let's say your first angel check or the first time you joined a different kind of asset class? How did you feel and get confident around that decision? And what was the feeling like when you wrote that first check?
Yeah, absolutely. So number one, my greatest decision comes in confidence in that founder. So irregardless of what industry they're in, that's the one thing. There has to be the connection with that founder and the belief that they are at the same energetic level that I am. Because I think that's where magic happens, is when you truly have somebody that has a vision, they know what problem they're trying to solve. And then they also they have a product market fit that's going to meet whatever it is. The second thing that I looked at was, is it a world positive company? So I don't any decisions that are not world positive, which means it's good for the people or it's good for the planet. And so if somebody said, I've got this company that I know is going to grow by 100%, but I'm making sugar-filled whatever it is that's going to get kids addicted, I'd be like, absolutely not. It's a great profit, but the purpose isn't in alignment. So I would say like the first time that I invested was more in a fund, which I knew was going to do that. And I also got personal involvement in the fund, being able to mentor the founders that we invested in as well. So from like a purpose standpoint, it was totally in alignment because not only did it allow me to partake in the growth of the organization, I could also impact the founder on the other side. And that's what just started me down this line. And then I really realized in supporting all of the women in GoBundance that are looking to scale without sacrifice. That's what I teach, right? I teach that on a weekly basis in our community of like, how do we really make sure that if we want to grow our company, that we're growing ourselves and the strategy in which we're going to grow.
I love that. I think funds are such a fantastic entry point into this world of startups, the opportunity to diversify that check into a lot of different companies, the opportunity to be hands-on or lend your expertise is such a wonderful entry point. And I feel like because no matter how good you are with analysis, because that fund manager is doing all the diligence, you're hedging a little bit of what that risk might look like by having someone who's spends their whole day and night and life looking at companies, analyzing them, which is so exciting. So starting GoBundance, obviously, GoodLeap was on a great trajectory. Things were and continued to be charting along at an exceptional rate of pace. Then deciding to, okay, now I'm doubling down again. And it sounds like writing your own job description is like the secret sauce to unlocking what's next for Kelly. So with GoBundance, was there a job description for yourself that you were looking to fill? How did you decide that you were going to now really put yourself through this lens of service even more and really starting to give back? What were the circumstances that helped you realize that this was the path that you needed to go on to start to leave legacy?
Yeah. So first of all, while I was at GoodLeap, I continued to speak. So I've been a speaker for the last 25 years, but I also wrote 2 books while I was at GoodLeap. So I already had a lot of variety that was going on. I probably spoke a couple times a month and still was like fine tuning like my recipe for abundance and for success. So I wrote a book that's called Big Voices. You can find it on Amazon and whatnot. There is a chapter in that book where I entitled it Loneliness. And it really was about when you are in a state where you have chosen to up-level your consciousness, like really be able to do that you have to learn how to be lonely. And honestly, that's what I believed at that time. What I didn't know was that was a limiting belief that I was going to shatter. And as I was sharing with somebody part of this, reaching other women and whatnot, it's just challenging for me. And they're like, have you ever thought about joining a mastermind community or whatnot? We're in a mastermind. And I had been going to events, Tony Robbins, like Brendan Burchard, all these events, and I would meet people, but then you'd come home. And I actually felt lonelier when I came home because I had already grown that much more just as a result. And they blew my mind because all of a sudden I was like, oh, maybe I don't have to be lonely. Maybe I just need to be more intentional about who I surround myself with. And so I started in a mastermind at that point and heard that GoBundance Men was looking to start a women's division. And so just started those conversations at that point about, okay, they've done it on the men's side. Like, why can't we do it on the women's side? If I'm experiencing this level of loneliness or lack of connection, I could imagine that other female executives at large companies or that are running companies are feeling. And of course, the hypothesis was true. And so I didn't actually have a job description then for myself because I didn't think it was a job. It was more of a, I need this for myself. And so if I need this for myself, maybe we provide it for others. And since then, we've grown. It's a 7-figure business. It's definitely been able to create deep relationships and goes way beyond just creating connection and over loneliness. Like a lot of the conversations that we have bring us to a place of vulnerability. Like even women that are successful can struggle with confidence or imposter syndrome or stress or relationships or how do I not raise entitled little shitheads? Sorry if I can say that on here, because when you're successful, it's easy to do. You take the easy path. You're like, I'll just do it. I'll just do it for them or whatever. And I'm so grateful that I've been able to do that and really just be a part of changing women's lives because women don't invest in connection very often. Like we'll go to dinner with friends, but connection is different than friendship. Connection and mentorship is how do I surround myself with women that have gone beyond the limitations that my mind has set. A, I know what's possible, and B, I have a framework to be able to do the same thing. And that's really what we've created is just this dynamic group of women from all over the nation that meet. It's mostly an online community. We're actually headed out to Utah next week for a great event together, but it has been a platform that they can scale their businesses without sacrifice, which is what I am doing myself.
Oh, it's so incredible. I've always felt so, from the moment I met you, so blessed to be in community with someone who's also raising their torch to break down silos and to really help women do this together and to unlock the wisdom together and to grow together and to be able to not just believe that the pie is bigger, but to know that the pie is bigger. There's a difference when you move from I wish, I believe to I intend and I know. And it's that shift that I think is really exponential because when you move to the I know phase, then it's like all the doors open now. It makes it so exciting. Okay, so here you are, the successful woman. You are independent, fierce, so inspirational. Obviously, life keeps unfolding, right? There's more. Talk to me a little bit about this shift in direction. And one of the things that I'll say before we go there is I love when life gets to become this buffet of choices. I'm either going to be the entrepreneur in this business, the operator, the investor, the advisor. All of a sudden, there's like so many different hats you can potentially wear depending on what resonates to your spirit, right? And how you want to show up. And you've made some really incredible expansion decisions in your life to step in more into this women's health space and to start to be more active and deliberate and focused in wanting to double down on. Can you share, as your pie is now expanding even greater, of all the companies that you've been advising or that you could have taken a more hands-on approach to that you're invested in? Speak to me about how the dominoes fell that led you to Minerva and what this is representing for you right now.
Yeah. So I'm going to be honest, it was a God thing. I semi-retired from GoodLeap April 1st and knew like I had a lot of opportunities. So I had already made a decision that I really wanted to step into the women's leadership space. And so the two areas of focus that I was already really committed to was how do we increase the number of C-suite executives and CEOs that we have? And how do we increase the amount of venture capital going to female founders, given the success and economic impact that those companies will have in the world? So I had already made that decision. Coming out of it, I didn't know the avenue in which I was going to do it. So I was already having conversations with big leadership companies about how to really impact in this area, venture funds, big opportunities. And I know in my own life that when I really allow God to show me clarity in the external world, that I don't need to think so much. So I went to Europe. I went to Europe for over a month and literally just enjoyed myself and had cappuccinos and beach time and I think I read 27 books while I was there. And in a 35-day period of time, like I literally just was in this place of the right opportunity is going to come. And I was already working with Dr. Betty. I also am a part of a gut microbiome company called Precision Health and had a couple other companies as well that I work with. So I also have a mentorship program where we help entrepreneurs really build authority and build their funnels to get their books and other things out there. So I was okay. And our podcast is a top podcast. And I had so many opportunities, but I just let it be and meditated a lot. And all of a sudden, God was like, I need you to move. And the movement was from, you have been a bridge for people for this first half of your life. You have been connecting them to resources and tools that they need to get to a better place. And now I need you to be the anchor. And I need you to let go of that and fix these broken systems. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? And when people say that God talks to them, it comes in different ways. There were a lot of things that were, whether it was something I read or a conversation or just whatever it was. And then I came home and Dr. Betty was like, hey, I think this is an opportunity not only for you to be an advisor, but to really step in and help me run this company. And so over about a week of being home, I made the decision. And I believe stabilizing women's physical well-being is a requirement to get us to this next level. Because what I want to shift is the idea that we need to get a piece of the pie or have a seat at the table. I want us to sit at a different table. I want us to have a different pie. Like, I don't want to be a victim to the way that things have been done. I believe as women, when we step into our highest power, that we believe in infinite possibilities of what we can create. And being a mom and having a lot of flexibility while I've been, whether it was pretty much self-employed as a loan officer or as an executive, Hayes was raised by a single mom. So he never worried about where I was. He knew if I was at school or at the soccer game or whatnot, I was still going to be able to create and produce the results that we needed. And I just believe that women are the only ones that are going to do that. And so when people look at this physical part, not only does it affect what I believe is productivity issues, most stats show about 2 billion plus in loss in productivity between perimenopause and menopause. We also have higher divorce rates, higher psychiatric hospitalizations, higher suicides, because women just go through a myriad of things. But we also need to deconstruct some of the old beliefs like hormone replacement is for symptoms. No, it's for longevity. If you want to live the longest, most just joyful life you can, you will be on HRT the rest of your life because our body's protected by these hormones. And maybe we just weren't meant to live this long. And so not only am I passionate about helping women, I'm passionate about helping men too. Like, people don't think about what men go through when a woman is in this very oftentimes volatile state. Like, their worlds are rocked. Absolutely. Their children are affected. Their job is affected. So I believe in stabilizing this one area. Then we'll be able to start to see the impact in all these other areas of our life.
I think that's such a valuable and often overlooked statement, which is through the lens of advancing and supporting women, we actually advance and support men, children, families, communities, and that it's not just affecting women in a silo. It's actually creating these massive effects within our larger world. And so investing in women's health and taking a stand for really the things that we've been lacking and needing. These days, we hear so much about longevity and being alive longer than ever. But what kind of quality of life are you going to be living if you don't have access to some of these new research and technologies that are being developed?
Absolutely. And you nailed it, Shama. Like, women are living longer, but we're living poorer quality lives. And so when you go to an assisted facility, living facility or whatnot, tons of women, but their bones are brittle, their hearts are weak. And these are all things that we can overcome.
That's right. It's so incredible. Okay. So knowing that we're going to be living longer than we ever thought, Well, the conversation started at 10:12. I'd like for us to shift into like 110, 112. So tell me from a legacy standpoint, it sounds like as your life evolves, there are these decades where you're being driven by a sense of purpose and truth. And then you get new messages and things evolve. And so I imagine probably every year from now until the rest of our lives where I know you, there will be some new evolution. But if you could drop yourself into a future self that is looking back on this incredible body of work on this planet, what will that feel like and taste and look like? What does legacy mean to you?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I just got the chills completely. I know I will feel completely blessed that every painful moment that I ever experienced, because for those of you listening, like this hasn't been without tragedy. This hasn't been without pain. This hasn't been without heartbreak. There have been a lot of things that have happened along this way that I've learned how to transcend. But legacy for me is knowing that I really left the world a better place than what I found it. I became a better version of myself than who I was. I've deconstructed old programming. The greatest thing that I love teaching people, and when I speak, this is the top thing that I talk about, is you are not your brain. You are not your body. You are a soul deep in there. And when you increase your energy, the people that come into your life are absolutely aligned and like you, right? Like it's one of those things where, hey, there you are. I got to spend last weekend with Marie Diamond from The Secret, and we're doing some things together now. And I'm just like, that's just how my life rolls. Like it's just the higher level of consciousness that you get to, the more you get to play with other people that are also wanting to change this world. And when I really think about my legacy, I know I'm just allowing God to live through me and to love through me. And I think that's always going to continue. My humanness is always humbled by my own thinking. And I know that like my life's work, like I'm really excited when I'm 112. I'm probably not going to be worried about whether or not the guy texts or not at that point, because I am navigating still as like a single mom. And so I hope that's part of my legacy, is that I'll be like, oh, it finally happened. I'm not worried about that silliness that I did before. It's just noise. It's just in the passenger seat in my life. But just knowing that, honestly, like I did everything that I could to make the people that are around me know how loved and valued they are, and that I've helped really just break down some of the broken systems that we have today, because it's confusing, whether it's why aren't we preventing disease when we have knowledge? Why aren't we putting the research and development into teaching people the things that they can do at a young age to prevent anything? We talk about the cancer, the abortions, all of these things, but like, can we start talking about how we got there? Can we start talking about really educating people, better, so that we don't have a lot of these things that end up causing a lot of pain and suffering for the people that are still here?
Kelly, that's so wonderful. So as we near the closure of our time together, there are two favorite questions I love to ask. The first is, what was the most, in recent history, the most fun thing or experience or joy thing that you have spent your money on? What is bringing you joy these days with your capital?
Oh my goodness. I would probably say my boat. Like in terms of spending money, I have a recipe that I try to tithe 10% of what I make, and I try to put 10% into my adventure fund. Sometimes that's a big dollar amount depending on the season. And so the boat investment, it created so many amazing family experiences, relationship experiences, whether it's with everyone. And I love being on the water. Like when you really honor the energy that water brings and being out in nature, like it just changes something. And so that's probably been my best investment that I've made monetarily. You're going to have to come join me at my lake house.
Oh, fabulous. And then my final question, Kelly, our audience really rallies around the women on this show. because we are all in it for each other, because we are getting rich together. What is it that you are calling in right now that we can support you with? What are you wanting, needing? How can we uplift you and make magic happen for you?
Yeah. So honestly, I'm looking to connect with any women that are passionate about women's health. And we're going to be raising capital over the course of the next year to be able to reach more women and really just be able to solve some of these healthcare issues that we're experiencing today. And whether it's somebody that needs to check out their own situation or might want to look at being an investor, that's probably the greatest area of help. And Shama, I so appreciate this question because I just want to remind people one of the greatest areas that we sabotage our own success is in not being willing to ask for help. And this has been something I have had to learn how to do. Like, this didn't come natural because we're like, oh, I'm a self-contained machine. I'm a self-made this, self-made that. No, when you engage help, and you and I are constantly bouncing opportunities to one another and being able to mutually support one another. So thank you so much for that brilliant question.
Oh, you're so welcome, Kelly. I am here for it. We are here as a community, here for you. And I am so grateful for your spirit of generosity. And I feel like we could have had this conversation for 3 more hours at least and got into so many different directions. But this has been so inspiring. And you are so very lovely, Kelly. Thank you for being here today.
And thank you for everything you do for women in this space. I'm so grateful.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Getting Rich Together. My hope is that you leave every episode feeling more inspired, more powerful, and more connected. Until next time, remember, you have everything it takes to create wealth on your terms.